Hello and welcome to ReggieTake.com, our Star Wars podcast special roundtable. Joining me tonight is Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, and George Lucas. I wish. No. Unfortunately, it's just us. Joining me, I'm going to have to start making you an honorary co-host.
I think so, yeah.
James from the True Believers, welcome.
Thank you, and you the same. I might have to, it's pretty much just you and Sean these days.
Well, I invited Sean, and he got back with me on Facebook, said he'd love to do it, but he's down in Florida at Disney World this week. So.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. I'd seen that on Facebook.
It's and he didn't invite us?
I know.
What the hell?
I know. Well, it looks like he's having a good time. I've seen some pictures. It looks like he's having a good time.
Yeah, by the time this gets posted, he'll probably be back in town anyway. So
now, Enrique was going to be on, but I believe that he has feline AIDS. So they just keep flaring up.
Yeah, I tried to get Enrique to come, but other obligations, so we'll try and catch him next time.
I just give you a hard time, Enrique.
Anyway, so this is all about Star Wars this time. No comic book news, no other Hollywood bullshit.
Now, Star Wars is a movie, is that right? It's a movie.
It is
It's a picture show, right?
It is an American iconic movie franchise.
Interesting.
Depending on how you want to look at it.
It's one of those picture shows.
If it was God,
moving pictures.
If it was God, it could be considered God in my opinion. But
yeah, I'm just kidding. I love Star Wars.
That's great.
It's great.
Obviously, we're doing this because The Force Awakens opens December 18th.
Mm-hmm. Do you have tickets?
No, I am avoiding the opening weekend. No. As much as I want to see it, I'm going to avoid. But we're going to get to Force Awakens here into this podcast, hopefully.
Well, let me tell you straight up, if you're avoiding it on the weekend,
I'm going to avoid
don't go on the internet at all.
Yeah,
not on Facebook. I will still never forgive my friend Jeremy for posting when Avengers came out. I was like, well, I'm not going opening night. I'll go the next day. And my friend posted on Facebook, I can't believe they brought Thanos in. This is so great. And that is like such a left field spoiler. And I was like, well, I'm hiding your post forever now. I think it was like literally 2 years before I was like, I'll unhide his post. That's what you get, Jeremy.
Now, Star Wars is obviously the brainchild of George Lucas. Mm-hmm. George has taken a bad rap here last 15 years or so, but besides that, no matter who continues on making movies with that universe, he'll always be the brainchild behind it.
Well, I mean, that's similar to like with comics, that's similar to Stan Lee, except Stan Lee knew when about but but I mean, it's kind of the same thing. It's like the creation has now succeeded the creator.
Star Wars A New Hope opened on May 25th, 1977.
Whoa, hold on a sec.
Hey,
let's talk about that. It was not Star Wars A New Hope.
No, it was not. It was later renamed just Star Wars.
Yeah.
For some people, they've probably only known it as Star Wars A New Hope. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was rebranded until after Empire? I believe.
Sometime. I know I had the VHS set.
I believe it was sometime after Empire before it got rebranded.
Yeah, I had the VHS set, Star Wars in the big letters, and then in small letters, A New Hope. And then for the other two is Star Wars in small letters, and then Empire Strikes Back in the old font.
I think it was rebranded when Star Wars, the first movie, got re-released in 81.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Or 82.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think that's when it got rebranded A New Hope.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I guess maybe George thought because he had an Empire, I guess maybe I don't know.
They did the same thing with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Years later, I don't know when they did it, but years later, all the DVD, VHS, everything, they called it Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Which, if you think about it, doesn't really make sense because wasn't Indiana Jones one of the Raiders of the Lost Ark? Like, unless it's like his band or something. But
you obviously noticed a little something in my notes that I had put in there. Would you like to read that?
The synopsis?
No.
The opening crawl. All right, here we go. Here's the opening crawl for Star Wars A New Hope. It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. During the battle, rebel spies managed to seal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, an armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races home aboard her spaceship, custodian of the stolen plans that can save her people and restore freedom to the galaxy. There we go.
I know you've seen all these movies. Where would you rank it among the first 6?
Oh, wow. Well, it'd be the same, too.
I have a feeling I know where all these are going to be ranked anyway, but
I think for the most part, everyone will rank them the same, except maybe ranks 3 and 4 might switch. If you know what I'm talking about, maybe I'm wrong, but I think those are the ones that people might switch. Yeah. So where were you when you saw? You were alive when this came out, right?
Yes.
Okay. How old were you?
6 years old.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm dating myself here.
You're a little one.
Yes, I was a little one, but as a kid, what more could you ask for? Spaceships, lightsabers. I mean, I ended up getting Star Wars toys for like 3 or 4 years in a row. I mean, actually quite a while because of Star Wars and then Empire Strikes Back. I don't think I really got any toys with Return of the Jedi because by then I was a teenager. But Star Wars as a kid, I mean, pretty much, you get into the toy box, there went the Star Wars toys.
Yep.
So I mean, that was a big thing. Star Wars was definitely probably the most impressive opening because you get the crawl that goes across, it kind of pans down a little bit, and then all of a sudden the ship goes by, and then you get all the blasting from the Imperial Star Destroyer. So it catches you right off the top.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me. All 3 of these movies came out before I was born, just slightly. I'm not that young by any means. They came out like the third one. I think Return of the Jedi was 83, so it was the year that I was born. Still before, so towards the end of the year. But it's always interesting to me to hear people who were children when they came out, because for me it was hearing about it when I was in elementary school and renting it or buying it on VHS, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is a great movie. And to me it's always interesting to hear people who are like, I was there, man. I was there. I saw it. When you went, you saw it in theaters, correct?
Yes.
When you went, and I know you were 6, so you may not remember, but do you know if you went right when it opened, or did your parents take you? Usually parents wait. That's like a teenager thing to go out on opening night.
I couldn't tell you. It's one of the few movies my parents actually took us to. My parents didn't go to the movies a lot. I mean, when you get kids, I mean, I can understand why. You don't understand it as a kid, why the parents just won't take you to the movies. You don't get it. But, as you grow older, you get it. But Star Wars was the movie that got me into sci-fi. Mm-hmm. I mean, as I got older, I started kind of watching Star Trek because, there wasn't much on TV that you could find sci-fi wise, so ended up watching reruns of the original series of Star Trek, which as a kid they were okay, but I didn't really appreciate them until I got to being an adult and understand them more, what they were trying to say in those shows. But Star Wars was just fun as a kid. And Star Wars, if you watch it, and I'm sure you'll agree, Star Wars is very self-contained, the first movie.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I was getting there. Yeah,
it's very self-contained because and that's probably smartly done on George Lucas' part. He was so sure that Star Wars was going to be a flop, he actually went on holiday with Steven Spielberg in Hawaii. And while in Hawaii, while opening weekend, they came up with the idea for Indiana Jones.
Well, they also wrote a sequel novel in case...
right. He had plans just in case.
Have you heard of that? That the first sequel, it wasn't Empire Strikes Back. It was a novel for a movie that he thought would be just a garbage movie. There's no Han Solo because he didn't know... It's called like The Adventure of Luke Skywalker.
Really?
There's no Han Solo because I never read it. I just read about it on Cracked. But there's no Han Solo because they didn't think that Harrison Ford would be back. So the movie is pretty much just Luke and Leia stuck on one planet. There's no ships flying or anything because they didn't think that he'd have a budget. So he wrote this crappy book. Luke and Leia are stuck on a planet. But yeah, that was like his plan B in case he couldn't make another big epic movie. Mm-hmm. Like that would be his plan B.
George Lucas had because of Star Wars, that's how ILM was founded. He discovered that 20th Century Fox had disbanded their visual effects department, so he had to be able to do special effects himself. Mm-hmm. And of course then they did it old school with motion capture and ships in front, models in front of blue screen, which is an art probably way lost nowadays.
Yeah, which is a shame because if you look at it, the old prints, the old
he did it pretty well.
Yeah. They did.
I mean,
they really did.
Probably one of the best in the business when they did it. Even though if you watch any of the kind of behind the scenes things, whatever from Star Wars, George Lucas is talking about trying to get Star Wars made, and he was when he first looked, and his company didn't really have anything really edited the way he wanted it, and he had to basically go back and try and recut the film and get the special effects the way he wanted it because they had blown through a lot of their budget and really didn't have any shots he liked or approved. So it sounded like he went through hell for about 3 years trying to get this movie made.
Well, if you go back and watch the original release, one of the DVD sets has a bonus disc where you can watch the original release, and that's as close as we get
to anything of the original.
But it's not even of what standard is it? It's not even at. It's like some crappy Laserdisc setting.
Yeah, it's what was originally released on Laserdisc. Yeah.
So it's like what do they call it? It's that compressed.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I forget. It's a very, very small screen.
Right.
Essentially. It's not made for the TVs that we have now.
No.
So it's very compressed.
I still have...
There's a word for it.
I still have VHS of the original movies.
I do too. I don't think I can watch them though.
I'm afraid I'd afraid to put them in a VCR because I'm afraid they'd get destroyed. So that's one reason why I haven't ever tried.
I just use them for the covers, but if you go back and watch that you don't see it on Empire Return, but on Star Wars, whenever a ship is flying by, you can totally see this square around the ship.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see some flaws in it, in the special effects. But I think that's what made the movie so iconic, I guess, in a certain sense. I mean, even though you saw certain flaws here and there, you were willing to just look right past it and say, "Who cares?" You watched it for the story and you enjoyed it.
A lot of times, most of the time, there is a director's cut to movies,
right?
And that's fine. And a lot of times, they'll clean up a mistake or whatever.
And I think
as a film fan, I still like to have the original just to see what happened in theory. But really, it's like, am I really going to... I sometimes wonder why it's different with Star Wars, why our fan reaction to the updated versions.
I have a theory about the special editions, and kind of see somewhat where Lucas was going with them and what he was wanting to do. But I think in the same sense, he may have taken it
too far.
A little too far.
Yeah, he did. Like, there's nothing wrong with cleaning stuff up.
Oh, yeah.
Or adding scenes even, if they work. A lot of the scenes were cut for a reason, I think.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with that, but the CGI, it's weird.
Yeah.
Like putting in CGI characters. CGI ship, I'm not going to notice. And there isn't really that much. The CGI is mostly cleaning up the modeled ships.
Right.
But CGI characters like those weird, like giant lizards and stuff, this doesn't belong there. I mean, this technology wasn't even around when these movies came out. You're not fooling anyone.
No.
Like, the other thing is, and if you want to add that, that's fine. But like, let us watch the originals too. Like, I mean,
I don't know. Lucas has claimed that there's no way that the original versions can be ever put about, and who knows if that's true or not.
He says that they were burned or whatever. I don't buy that.
I don't know, but if there's a way of putting the original versions in theaters out on Blu-ray, Disney's got to know that's a cash cow waiting to be just unloaded.
This isn't really meant for this show, but I am going to point out that there have been supposedly leaked emails going around with Disney and Fox, and Disney is trying to find a way. Fox is still, for the originals, Fox is still the distributor, but it sounds like they can release those if they come up with a legal way of keeping Fox on board. So they're trying to find some sort of... I think it's going to happen.
Fox retains the rights to A New Hope, irregardless X amount of time. There's the other 5 films do revert to Disney fully, somewhere I think in 2020, I believe. So there is an agreement in place there.
Oh yeah, and I think it's just a matter of how much would Fox and Disney get if Disney is just the distributor of this.
I'm sure there's probably they'd have to work out some legal.
Oh yeah, it sounds like the original cuts exist somewhere. If you read those emails,
and I'm sure that's one of the first things Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and all them looked into. Is, okay, do they really exist?
Yeah, people will buy them.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I read somewhere where if Disney put out, even if it wasn't a cleaned up version, it's just a really good watchable version, and put it out there, I mean, people are going to snatch those up so fast. Yeah. They're going to fly off the stores.
Disney and Fox would make a ton.
They'd clean up. Have you ever heard the original, how Darth Vader sounded, David Prowse? He said all the lines that were scripted when they were filming, so, actors could obviously, whatever, and Lucas had plans to replace his voice later on, but no one really knew that.
Right.
It went uncredited for, until Return of the Jedi, or even the special editions, even though it would come out later who it was. But I got a thing on here said that James Earl Jones supplied the voice of Darth Vader, which we already obviously know, but he specifically requested that he not be credited at the time. The reason he cited was that he felt he had not done enough work to get the billing, but he later admitted that he didn't want the name associated with the film because he was still an up-and-coming actor and didn't want to be, quote, typecast.
Interesting.
I don't know how you get typecast off of a voice, but...
I'm gonna say what's funny about... And James Earl Jones is great, but what's funny about that wasn't he was the bad guy in Conan the Barbarian like a few years later. And that movie's stupid. But I mean, when was that? Was that movie 82? That might have been after.
Probably after even Empire. So,
so that was probably at that point he was like, who cares?
Yeah. 1989, the Library of Congress National Film Registry. Star Wars was the first film selected in that program's first year of existence to be preserved.
Really?
That was the first film picked by the Library of Congress National Film Registry to be preserved, and that was in 1989. So if that was the case, wouldn't they have a copy of the original version now?
Oh, yeah. There are original copies. Of course there are. Yeah. They've got it. It's probably in the salt mine in Hutchinson. Hutchinson, Kansas.
Have you ever been down to salt mine? I've never been
have.
There. Is that pretty cool?
Yeah.
I know they got some movie memorabilia down there.
It is. It's very cool. It's worth going to. I mean, I was a kid when I went. When I went, I didn't understand the importance of what all's down there, but I do now, and I would like to go again as an adult.
Who, out of the first Star Wars movie, who was probably your favorite character?
In the first movie?
Yeah.
Han Solo, of course.
Han Solo?
Yeah. Duh.
It had to be either Han Solo or Darth Vader for me. I mean, I know Darth Vader's supposed to be the bad guy, but I mean, come on, that's pretty damn badass character.
What's interesting about Darth Vader in that movie is you know this. A lot of people may not know this. The whole idea of him being Luke's father was an afterthought.
That wasn't created. That didn't come up that until he was writing Empire.
Yeah, this was not planned by George Lucas, and in fact, I think George Lucas's wife was the one that came up with that story idea. But I could be wrong.
I've never heard that one before.
I could be wrong on that. But so if you watch that movie, watch it. It's almost like this Elseworld story where this alternate dimension where Darth Vader's not Luke's father in that movie, and that's the only one like that where it's like, yeah, no, he totally isn't in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, he killed Anakin Skywalker, who was Luke's dad. Leia certainly is not Luke's sister. That was such a cop-out on the third one, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Even to the point where Obi-Wan, he calls him Darth. Mm-hmm. As if Darth is his first name.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting.
Knowing what we all know now, you think it was hard or easy for Lucas to get Peter Cushing and Alex Guinness to come on board and do that movie? Granted, Peter Cushing had already done it like a Doctor Who.
Peter Cushing did a lot of campy stuff. I don't think it was too difficult to get him on board. Like, he did all the Hammer the Hammer horror movies. He did the Doctor Who. He did Sherlock Holmes. I think Peter Cushing was kind of into that sort of thing. Granted, Star Wars still might have come off a little bit goofier than something that he was used to, at least before it was a finished product. But I don't know.
I know from seeing other things that when Lucas filmed this in Pinewood Studios over in England, that a lot of the British crew that he had to use over there at the time pretty much, thought he was making a stupid movie. And
well, it is kind of a stupid movie. Like, when you really look at it, like, I love the movie, but when you look at it, it's a kid's movie. Like, it
yes
is.
And no.
The first one definitely is. I love the first one, but it is a kid's movie.
I don't know. I find Phantom Menace more of a kid's movie than I find A New Hope.
I'm not talking about the prequels right now. But compared to
the first
Empire,
3? Oh, yeah.
It's definitely a kid's movie.
I almost find Return of the Jedi, then, if you're going to stick with the original 3.
That one is definitely a kid's movie.
More kid movie than I would New Hope.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Just because of the Ewoks.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have on this movie?
Okay. Obviously, the special edition version was released in 1997.
The special edition version is...
it was released on January 31st.
What did you think about it when it came out?
The special edition?
Yeah.
I went just because knowing it was coming back to theater, I was happy to go back and see Star Wars in the theater.
Oh, yeah. It was cool seeing it in theaters.
Oh, yeah. It was great seeing it kind of cleaned up and maybe a few extra things added that wasn't there originally. I think the biggest thing that Lucas could have really left out, and if you really pay attention to the dialogue, probably the reason why it was cut the first time, but the scene with Han Solo
and Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. If you listen to some of the lines that they're saying, is exactly what he already had the discussion with Greedo in the cantina.
That's why they cut scenes out of movies, because it's not a good scene.
I mean, yeah, okay, yeah, you can put it back in there, but was it needed? No,
not at all.
No, I mean, I think if you took that out of the special edition, just took that one scene out with what he did, I don't think most people would have an issue with the special edition.
That and the CGI Jawas getting attacked by CGI dinosaurs, because hilarious, right?
Yeah. Well, that's in the background, and I don't really count that too much against him.
But the Jabba the Hutt thing is really weird.
I mean, I think
it just doesn't work.
I think if you had left that out of the special edition, I don't think too many people would have a qualm about
that one. Now, this
scene
was not in the special special edition. This is in the special edition of the Blu-ray. The scene with Biggs.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
There is a part of me that likes that scene as a deleted scene. Like, it's kind of neat, but when you put it in the movie, it doesn't work. It's like, oh, it's Luke and his friend Biggs who he's mentioned, and like, big deal. Like, this adds nothing. Like, but it's a neat deleted scene.
Okay, you get to actually see the guy he's referenced before, but it has nothing to do with the overall story or them destroying the Death Star.
That's another one where it's like, I could see why they cut this. But I mean, I don't know. I don't really complain about that because it's kind of neat.
It's a minor.
It's a footnote. That's why it should have been left as a deleted scene, like just as a footnote.
It's a minor issue with that. I think the bigger one, I think we can both agree, is Jabba the Hutt.
That scene just doesn't work.
No, it could have been done without even being released. But it was cool to see. It was a little weird. Jabba, I think, looked a little weird digitally. And I could be wrong on this, but I think the reason why he decided to go ahead and tinker with the originals, cleaning them up, because is what he saw his ILM could do with Jurassic Park for Spielberg. And he was toying with the idea of doing newer Star Wars movies, and I think this is his way of, okay, where can I go? Where can I can't go? Which turned out to be the prequels.
Well, it was totally an advertisement for, it was like an appetizer for
it's like,
episode 1.
Put all Star Wars back into the mindset of the people, and so that way.
And there's nothing wrong with the special editions. I always just feel like nothing wrong with them. It's a director's cut. I just always felt like I'd like the originals too. Like, is that so much to ask? Like,
yeah. We'll move on here to probably what's probably considered the best of all the 6 movies currently released.
Oh, yeah, Phantom Menace.
Only if you're drunk. The Empire Strikes Back. I'll take the opening crawl on this one. It's a dark time for the rebellion. Although the Death Star has been destroyed, Imperial troops have driven the rebel forces from their hidden base and pursued them across the galaxy. Evading the dreaded Imperial Starfleet, a group of freedom fighters led by Luke Skywalker has established a new secret base on the remote ice world of Hoth. The evil Lord Darth Vader, obsessed with finding young Skywalker, has dispatched thousands of remote probe droids into the far reaches of space. It was released on May 21st, 1980. The special edition, obviously, February 21st, 1997. Most of your major players are back in this one, obviously with basically no Peter Cushing, because he went with the Death Star.
Yeah.
But
he was a great... We forgot to talk about him a little more. Well, he was a great... Grand Moff Tarkin is a great villain.
Great character.
Yes. He really is.
He played, and he's really, other than the Emperor, he's the only one that really could control Vader.
Yeah.
If you think about it. He's the only one that really had, could sit there and basically snap his finger at Vader, and Vader would
That's a character that probably could have showed up in the dang prequels, because, it's interesting to see him and Vader's, they had such a mutual respect in that movie.
Yes. On the animated Clone Wars series that ran for 5 years on Cartoon Network, they had a couple episodes with an animated Tarkin.
Oh, really?
I'm surprised they didn't delve into it more maybe in episode 3, but it's not our toy.
All right, back to the second movie then.
Back to the second movie. Empire Strikes Back. This is one of those rare cases where the sequel outperforms and outdoes the original.
It used to be rare. It's starting to happen more and more now.
But
with this type of movie anyway.
Yeah, but at this time, this is one of those, even with today's movies, I think it still holds up as one of the best sequels.
Goes above and beyond the first one. It throws it out of the water.
Vader is a true badass in this one. Complete true badass, and Luke is still somewhat naive and kind of gung-ho.
The story is compelling. That's the thing with the first one, is the story wasn't really compelling. It's just cool, space and desert and aliens and all this and spaceships, but the story was pretty linear. It's just okay, blah blah, and that's fine. But this one actually had a very compelling story.
And this was one that was not directed by George Lucas. He let
one
of
two.
Yes, he let Irvin Kershner direct.
Irvin Kershner was mostly an artistic director.
Right.
George Lucas was a fan of his. The stuff that he did was not really movies. It was artistic films.
And there was I don't know how when this was done, but he did an interview. Irvin Kershner did an interview with Cinescape magazine. He told the magazine, said he had no interest in films with special effects. However, he was won over by George Lucas, although Kershner was determined to make the film more about characterization than hardware, which obviously it shows.
Oh, he totally did, yeah.
Kershner Kirshner spent several months working on the script, pushing the writers into humanizing the characters more. Something that obviously Lucas was obviously criticizing for not doing.
I think that's something that Lucas probably has never been good at.
No, he can come up with the stories. He can visually see or create.
But the characters are flat, and that's why the prequels suffer. He should not have been directing.
Well, and there's he tried to get several other directors to try and direct Phantom Menace, but they all turned him down.
Really?
From what I read, he tried to get other people to direct it, start Phantom Menace, and then he decided, well, I guess I'll just direct it. And
wow.
Then I guess he decided, well, he just wants to keep his vision. I'm guessing that's the reason why he went ahead and directed 2 and 3. And I think maybe the prequels could have been better if other people.
What was your reaction to? There's like a plot twist or something in this movie, if I remember correctly.
Let's see, someone finds out who their father is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
what was your reaction to that?
As a kid, you're sitting there finding out, oh, Darth Vader's Luke's father. Holy crap. Because at that time, you don't really know, is Vader machine or human? They gave you that. I think was it Empire or was it New Hope? He's more machine now, or is that Return of the Jedi?
I think that's the first one.
He's more.
It might be all of them.
He's more machine now. Evil and twisted, and that may be even Return of the Jedi when he's having that conversation with the Force image of Ben on Dagobah. It's possible, but either way, that was something I don't think anyone saw, and even when they recorded it, the only ones who knew the line supposed to be was Kirshner, Lucas, and they told Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Because the actor was going to say a different line, but it was actually going to be this line, so he'd react to it.
The original line that
Obi-Wan,
that David Prowse says is
Obi-Wan.
Was it Obi-Wan killed your father?
Yeah, something like that.
No.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah.
This is just a fantastic movie. I think it is one of the best action adventure movies ever made. Still,
I mean, Han Solo is definitely height of Han Solo. I mean,
before he got neutered
right, and of course, that has one of the best. The whole carbon freezing chamber on Cloud City, where he's about ready to be lowered in. Leia just says, "I love you," and he goes, "I know."
Yeah,
but according to reports,
that was an ad lib.
Yeah, that was an ad lib because Kirshner just wasn't liking what was originally scripted, and they just didn't feel.
You too,
or what? It doesn't seem right for the character, and
No.
I think I read somewhere they did that take like 15 times before they finally got what they wanted, which I'm guessing what showed up in the movie. But any other line just wouldn't seem right for Han Solo.
No.
I mean, he's just an arrogant little. I guess he thinks he's a badass. I guess.
Yeah, he kind of is.
He kind of is.
Yeah, he is definitely.
He's falling for the girl.
Yeah.
Now if you think about it, before you find out, obviously Vader is Luke's father. After Luke is rescued, Leia kisses Luke square on the mouth. There, on Hoth.
This is the same thing that happened before. They were not meant to be sister and brother.
That could be a little. If you think about it now, that's a little creepy. It's like, no, don't do it. You're kissing your brother.
They were clearly not meant to have her be a Skywalker.
Yeah,
that was never an intention. That was a last minute throwaway surprise on the third one to be like, remember how cool it was when Darth Vader was his dad, Leia's his sister, and it's like, that's not very cool. That's just weird. It doesn't even make sense, and it's like, all right, but
instead of falling for a girl you thought was hot, now you realize, oh crap, it's my sister. I can't do that now.
Well, there was this movie also brings us Yoda.
Oh yeah, and that was a big risk for Lucas to do that too, because he didn't know if it'd be accepted or if it'd just be Kermit the Frog with a
speech impediment. Speaking of which, I'm going to point something out, and I think not only do a lot of people either not notice or forget, Lucas totally forgot about this. Yoda, when he speaks like a tall person you are or something, like, how he has that broken Yoda speech. He only does that when he's pretending to be some cute little creature giving Luke a hard time. Once he admits that he's Yoda, he drops that. Like, he's like, will he start what he begins? Like, he's done with that crap.
Yeah.
And what's funny is Lucas brought it back in I think even the third one, but all the prequels, and it's like, no, this is the way he talks now. It's like, no, like, and if you go back and watch Empire, it's like, no, that's so much cooler.
Even if you think about Return of the Jedi, he may have stopped and started, but it wasn't that Yoda speak as you were saying.
Yeah. And it's so much, I know that's like, just like marketing for the kids or whatever, but it was so much cooler, like when you watch the movie, when he drops the act and gets serious. serious.
Right.
Like, now it's just like...
And that look of surprise on Luke when he realizes that this little guy he's...
What is that god-awful line on episode 3 that he says to Palpatine? It's like the most forced Yoda speak. Like, he and Palpatine are going to do their battle. He's like,
yeah.
Not until... blah. And it's like,
yeah.
You can't even make sense of it.
And also in the prequel where you sit there and you make that little hand, sticks his hand out, makes that little gesture like, oh, come on.
Oh, God.
It's like, Lucas, you need to stop watching The Matrix or something. You know?
It doesn't even make sense for Yoda's character. He's not a taunting guy. I thought being a Jedi was about defense.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Return of the Jedi.
Opening crawl. Luke Skywalker has returned to his home planet in Tatooine in an attempt to rescue his friend Han Solo from the clutches of the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt. Little does Luke know that the Galactic Empire has recently begun construction on a new armored space station even more powerful than the first dreaded Death Star. When completed, his ultimate weapon will spell certain doom for the small band of rebels struggling to restore freedom to the galaxy. So what do you think of this movie?
It's probably the weakest of the original trilogy.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's definitely the weakest. It really has nothing to do with the movie, but how many times does the Empire have to make a Death Star and leave it with flaws?
No, it definitely has something to do with the movie. That's a terrible plot device. Like, come up with a new story.
It's like, okay, you want to build a second Death Star, fine, but you have to leave it vulnerable where the rebels can still destroy it. You think you'd have learned your lesson from 3 years earlier.
See, the thing is,
4 years earlier.
You know this. A lot of the stuff in Return of the Jedi was script that didn't make it past the cutting room floor for the very first movie. So that's why we're getting another Death Star blowing up. It's because part of the script of the first one, when the Death Star blows up, not only were they going to blow up the Death Star, but they needed a ground battle on the Wookiee planet of Kashyyyk.
Yeah.
But instead of Wookiees, let's do cute little Ewoks.
And I think that was because at the time he just didn't have the means to pull off a Wookiee, which would have been cool if he could have at the time.
Wait, on which movie? The first one or the third one?
On the Return of the Jedi.
I think he had the means to do it. I think he wanted to do cutesy stuff. And even Ewok is Wookiee pronounced backwards.
True.
He knew what he was doing. He wanted cute little... And here's the thing. I don't hate the Ewoks. I think that they're okay in a small dose.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like the scene where when Leia first meets Wicket or whatever his stupid name is, and he like steals her food or whatever, is kind of funny. And then when they kidnap the other guys and are about to eat them, and C-3PO's their god.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah,
that's fine. And then after that, say, well, thanks a lot, guys. See you later, and then leave.
You can still use him, even getting him up to the point of getting him into the back door of the
just Wicket, just the one. Like that would have been fine. Have a cute little animal sidekick. That's no big deal. But having them destroy the Empire is so stupid. Like even kids think that's stupid.
Seems a little hard to swallow.
Like they break an AT-ST with 2 logs.
Now that is pretty cool if you could actually pull that off.
It would just dent it. The thing is supposed to be it's called Armored Terrain Scout.
I believe Mythbusters did something on that, didn't they?
What's that?
The Mythbusters? I think they did something on that. And I can't remember if they proved it plausible or not.
Even if it is plausible, it looks stupid. And how are you going to trap it?
Well, first of all, how those Ewoks get those things all the way up there in the first place.
So I'm still, even if it's plausible, I'm still not buying it. And also it looks stupid.
Well, and of course, Return of the Jedi has probably got the best costume.
Oh, Slave Leia?
Yeah,
is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, that's a good costume.
Although, Carrie Fisherman, I agree with that. But one of the best costumes.
I think, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, I definitely get the problem that she and other people might have. It's like all of a sudden you're doing what always happens in these movies written by guys is you're taking the strong female lead and then like turning them in like humiliating ways. Always happens.
You almost turning Leia, which is technically a really strong quote female character.
Yeah,
and you're almost turning her helpless,
which seems to eventually happen no matter what.
Which seems a little not right for her character.
Yeah.
But I guess you have to do what you have to do. I don't know.
Well, and they kind of did butcher her character a little bit. Like even some of her dialogue, like when she's talking to Luke and she's like, "But why must we leave?" And it's like you got hints of the bad dialogue that's yet to come in the prequels.
I think I saw an interview where Irvin Kershner was offered after Empire by Lucas to do Return of the Jedi, and he turned it down, saying he didn't want to spend another 2 years doing the movie. And in that same interview, he said after seeing Return of the Jedi, he he kind of wished maybe he had taken it, which I think he may have gotten a better into that first trilogy.
He probably would have. The guy who directed this one, I always forget his name.
Richard Marquand. He died like in 87 or 88.
Oh, wow.
He died like 4 or 5 years after that movie.
See, a lot of the problem is this is around the time when Lucas got rid of a certain producer who I wish I had his name.
Well, no, that was a different. I'm thinking the one that was on with him with the prequels. I know who you're. Gary Kurtz.
Yes,
yes. Because we talked about that on one of my last ones.
He got rid of that producer, and that producer was kind of the one that was always like, nah, it's a little too stupid. Let's work on this. And he got rid of him, and it shows with this movie. Like, it does. I really like Return of the Jedi. But it does show that Lucas had started getting rid of people and surrounding himself with yes men.
And it seems like Return of the Jedi is kind of a letdown for the third and final movie. And it kind of seemed like he kind of just sleepwalked himself through it.
Oh, he totally did. I like the first part. I do like the Jabba the Hutt stuff. But even that, it's like Slave Leia
and if you notice
the death of Boba Fett.
Well, that seems a little anticlimactic. And if you notice when Leia is dressed as the bounty hunter, I know there's a name for that particular character, but I can't remember it. When she finally frees Han from the carbonite, when he went in the Empire, he had a strap across his waist holding his arms down. Mm-hmm. Kind of at the elbows where he couldn't move. But when he got released and fell off, that strap is no longer holding.
Oh, you're right.
Holding him in on his arms, and it's kind of like a minor oversight because I associate that the carbonite, ate away that leather strap or whatever it is. So, which all movies have those, little quirks. Yeah. But
many Bothams died retrieving this information. Like, what's a Botham? Like, what are you talking about?
Beginning of Return of the Jedi, there's a cut scene, and you may have seen it on the Blu-ray stuff where they show Luke in a cave on Tatooine or something.
Yeah.
It's a new
it's actually kind of a neat scene.
Right.
I don't know why they got rid of that.
That would have been okay to put in on when they did the special editions, but they didn't. I don't know why.
It wasn't stupid enough.
Okay. It says here, George Lucas thought the audience might not understand that Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber was not the same one he lost on Cloud City. To avoid confusion, Lucas decided to change the color from blue to green, making it clear that Luke was using a new lightsaber. Okay, which is fine. As part of the expanded universe, Luke's original lightsaber used by his father was given to him by Obi-Wan, which we all know, was given to him by Obi-Wan, was recovered along with his severed hand from Cloud City and was later wielded by a Luke clone. Luke later recaptured his lightsaber and presented it to Mara Jade, his love, who he married in the novels, which are no longer considered canon. But part of that, of someone recovering Luke's lightsaber from Cloud City with his hand, is something rumored. I've heard that's how they find Luke's lightsaber in the beginning of The Force Awakens.
Interesting.
That's how John Boyega's character of Finn ends up with Luke's original lightsaber.
Interesting.
So someone went back through and found this, obviously part of a little knowledge, and decided, sounds good.
Yeah.
Nice starting point. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting that something that was written in the books at some point was pulled out for, something similar is being used for The Force Awakens. So interesting. It's amazing what you can find online nowadays.
Chub.
Chub. Well, see, and they also, on the special edition of The Return of the Jedi.
This is one that I do like. The new song at the end.
I don't know.
I like that.
You like
actually,
that?
Yeah.
And see, and I also have a thing when we get to The Force Awakens.
It sounds a little bit like Yanni or whatever, but I like it better than ending the trilogy with Jub. Yay, Jub.
And of course, the special editions, you get to hear Jar Jar,
Oh, I don't like that, though.
No, we could have done without that.
We so free.
I mean, you can still show Naboo, but you could have done without the Jar Jar voice.
We so free at last. We so... Shut up. Just shut up.
What they need to do is make another special edition of Return of the Jedi, and when they get to that point where you're free at last, you hear a laser blaster going off. All right. That was part one of our Star Wars podcast. James, that was interesting and fun as always.
Of course. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait for the next movie to start.
Star Wars is always a fun thing to talk about.
It is.
Keep an eye out, or I should say keep an ear out for part two. That will be coming very shortly. Of course, Force Awakens is also coming out pretty quick as well. So keep listening. We'll talk at you later.